Okay, so the reading question type that we want to consider today is what we call paragraph headings match. Paragraph headings match. So let me quickly discuss with you what the tax requirement of this question is. I mean, what paragraph headings match questions we want you to do. Then I'll discuss the strategies and then we'll also practice. And when it comes to paragraph headings match questions, what will happen is they will give you a passage like this one that you have on the screen. But the passage will be divided into different paragraphs and labeled accordingly. You see this passage, for example, you have paragraph A, paragraph B, paragraph C, paragraph D, all the way to paragraph I. Okay, so this is a passage divided into different paragraphs and labeled accordingly. Then you will also be given something we call a list of headings. So you can see this list of headings here. So what they want you to do is that you should match the list of the items in this list of headings to this particular to these different paragraphs. Let me tell you what that means. You know, in English, a paragraph is defined as a collection of sentences that deal with the same idea. That's what a paragraph is. It's a group of sentences, a collection of sentences that discusses a main idea. So that means there's always a main idea in every paragraph. So here is a paragraph, for example, this paragraph A, there's a main idea here. So that means all the sentences in this paragraph are discussing one main idea. And when you go to paragraph B, there's another main idea here. So the reason they actually separated the sentences that make up paragraph A from the ones that make up paragraph B is that the main ideas, all right, or being expressed, being discussed by the sentences you have in paragraph A is different from the main idea being discussed by the sentences in paragraph B. And the reason they separated paragraph B from paragraph C is the main idea, all right, that the sentences in paragraph B, okay, are discussing is different from the main idea that the sentences in paragraph C are discussing. So what I'm saying is each of these paragraphs has its main idea. So paragraph A has its main idea, paragraph B has its main idea, paragraph C has its main idea, all the way to paragraph I. All right, each of them has its own main idea. Now, the main idea of these different paragraphs are what have been codified for us here as list of headings. All right, so for example, here you have various sources of supplies. Now, the implication is from paragraph A to paragraph I, there's most likely a paragraph whose main idea is various sources of supplies. There's most likely a paragraph that the major thing that is talking about is various sources of supplies. Okay, and then you have another paragraph here. You have another heading here. They say the effects of going outside. So the implication is from paragraph A to paragraph I, there's most likely a paragraph whose main idea is effect of going outside. That's the major thing that the paragraph talks about, the effects of going outside. All right, and so just like that, so here you have Oyemakan past and present. There's most likely a paragraph here that talks about Oyemakan past and present. Okay, so what do they want you to do? What they want you to do, I said, is for you to read each of these paragraphs. So that means you read paragraph A, and when you read paragraph A, you got to understand the main idea of paragraph A. So you read paragraph A, okay, you understand its main idea, and so you come to the list of headings and choose the headings that captures the main idea of paragraph A. All right, so that means, for example, you may read paragraph A, and after reading paragraph A, you realize that paragraph A is dealing with, let's say, keeping out the code. Now, keeping out the code is Roman figure 7. So all you just have to do is to write Roman figure 7 as the answer to number 28, which is paragraph A. Now, let me explain that. You know, you will have been answering this question all the way from number 1, number 2, you know, just like that. And so you will have been answering this question all the way from number 1. So you have gotten to number 27. That's implication. You've answered number 27. Now you want to answer question number 28. So if you want to answer question number 28, all you just have to do is to read paragraph A. That's why you are told here that number 28 is what? Paragraph A. So you read paragraph A, but when you read paragraph A, you want to understand what the main idea of paragraph A is. Okay, so after understanding, after pinpointing what the main idea of paragraph A is, then you come to the list of headings, okay, and choose a match. So let's assume that after reading paragraph A, you realize that paragraph A is dealing with keeping out the code. Now, keeping out the code is Roman figure 7. So that means all you just have to do is to write VII against number 28 in your answer sheet. All right, so by writing VII in this place, this is the written answer sheet, okay? So you will have been asked, writing your answers here, true, false, not given, or A, B, C, and all of that, A, B, C, D, and all of that. And when you get to this place, you want to answer question number 28, you read paragraph A. Then after reading paragraph A, you realize or you feel that the appropriate heading is Roman figure 7. So you just have to come here and write Roman figure 7 VII against number 28. So by writing VII against number 28, you would have matched, all right, keeping out the code with what? Paragraph A, because paragraph A is number what? 28. VII is what? Keeping out the code. So when you write VII against number 28, that will mean that you match what? Keeping out the code with what? Paragraph A. And so, that's what you do. But remember, you are looking for the main idea of each of the paragraphs. Now, is that explanation clear, please? Did you get the explanation? You are muted actually. Is it clear to you?
Yeah, you are the one that muted me. I've been.
Yes. Okay, ma. Is
It's
it clear
clear.
to you?
Yes,
All
it's
right.
clear, sir.
Yeah. So let's discuss the strategies. All right. Now for the strategies that you use when dealing with a question like this, or as always, I'll give you a step-by-step guide. But when you talk about strategies like this, or you have to take it step by step. So what are the strategies that you adopt when you are dealing with a question like this? Okay, now the first strategy that you use is that you have to interpret the title of the passage. All right. So the very first thing you do is that you interpret the title of the passage. Now, that's not really peculiar to paragraph heading smash questions. Okay. Now, in all reading question types, you always have to start with an analysis of the main idea of the passage, because of the analysis of the title of the passage, because it is the title of the passage that will give you an idea of what the main idea of the entire passage is. And so that actually goes a long way to make the question easier for you to answer, because knowing the main idea will actually simplify the passage for you, and so to be much easier for you to pinpoint the individual pieces of information that you'll be looking for. But the first thing is you've got to interpret. All right, you interpret the title of the passage. All right, so like in the case of this one, for example, the title of this passage is, they said, a visit to a mark on the world's coldest town. So when you take a look at this heading, you want to ask yourself that, okay, what will this passage be talking about? So you should be expecting this passage to tell you about someone who pays a visit to a place called Oyemako, which happened to be the world's coldest town. All right, so you want to read about someone who pays, or someone or a group of people who paid a visit to a place called Oyemako, which happened to be the world's coldest town. So that means what you should be expecting to read about here should be his experiences in this place called Oyemako, and his description of how life is in Yamakan. You know, how life is in Nigeria is not the way life is in the UK. And the way life is in the UK is not the way life is in Canada. And the way life is in Canada is kind of different from the way life is in the USA. So different places has the way life is in them. And so here you want to read about how life is in this place called what? Oyemakan. All right. So that's what this passage is about. So you should expect to read about the economy of Oyemekon. You should expect to read about the geography of Oyemekon. You should expect to read about the social life of Oyemekon. You should expect to read about Oyemekon as to whether it's a peaceful place or not, whether it's an expensive place to live in or it's cheap. So generally, you should expect a description of how life and living are in this place called Oyemako. So that's the first step. So you have to interpret the title of the passage, and here it's even crucial that you do that. In this question, and I'll tell you why. Now, the reason this is very very important is that Each of this passage has its main idea, doubtless, but then um each of these paragraphs also have their own main idea. All right, or each of these paragraphs also has its own main idea. So paragraph A has its main idea, paragraph B has its main idea, paragraph C has its main idea. But the main idea of paragraph A, paragraph B, and paragraph C will be an offshoot and a derivative of the main idea of the entirety of the passage. Okay, and so that means the main idea of paragraph A will come from the main idea of the passage. Now, the whole of the passage has its main idea. Then the respective paragraphs that make up the passage also have their own main idea. So the main ideas here are that, or the main idea of the whole of this passage is how life is in Oyemako. So, but you should expect each of these paragraphs to tell you something about an aspect of life in Oyemako. So I'm saying that this whole paragraph has its main idea, this whole passage, I'm sorry, has its main idea, but each of these paragraphs, all right, also has its own main idea. But the main idea of each of the paragraphs is derived from the main idea of the entirety of the passage. And so that's why it's important that for you to start thinking about, oh, what's the main idea of paragraph A? Oh, what's the main idea of paragraph B? You should already have known what the main idea of the whole of the passage is. And the way to know the main idea of the whole of the passage is to interpret the title of the passage. That will give us a sneak preview into what the entirety of the passage is talking about. Okay, and so that's the first step. You interpret the title of the passage. All right, interpret the title of the passage so that you can get the main idea of the passage. So that's number one, the title of the passage. Okay, then number two, the second thing that you do is you analyze each of the headings, analyze each of the headings, analyze each of the headings against the backdrop and in the context of the passage, of the main idea of the passage. All right, of the main idea of the passage. Now I will explain that. So I now said you have to analyze each of the headings in the context and against the backdrop of the main idea of the passage. Now what does that mean? Now what that means is, since you already know that this passage is dealing with how life and living are in Oyemako, and the next thing that you got to do is that you go to the list of headings. And when you go to the list of headings, you look at the list of headings one after the other, and you will be asking yourself a question. And that question would be the paragraph that this heading is the answer to. What would that paragraph be talking about? Because remember, each of these headings that you see here is a likely answer, is a potential answer to each of these paragraphs. All right. So, or the first heading here says various sources of supplies. That means there's a high probability that one of these paragraphs from A to I, one of them talks about various sources of supplies. Now you have the second heading that says effect of going outside. There's a high probability that out of these headings, one of them talk about the effect of going outside. Okay, and so now, what do you do? What you do is this: in these headings, since each of these headings will likely or capture the main idea of each of these paragraphs, so just ask yourself the simple question, and that question is the heading that this paragraph will be the answer to. What would that paragraph be talking about? So the paragraph, all right, the paragraph, I'm sorry, the paragraph that this heading will be the answer to, what would that paragraph be talking about? So you have a paragraph here, for example, that says various sources of supplies. So what would that paragraph be talking about? You have another one here that says effect of going outside. So what would that paragraph that this heading is the answer to, what would that paragraph be talking about? So you've got to analyze each of these headings. That means you interpret each of the headings and you try to understand what the meaning of each of the heading is. Okay, so here, for example, they said various sources of supplies. Of course, this means various sources of supplies in Oyemako. All right, so it means various sources of supplies in Oyemakon, okay? So that means you expect this paragraph to tell you about the various ways and the various means through which the people that live in Oyemakon get their supplies. So by supplies here, we mean the things that they need in their day-to-day life, food, groceries, and so on and so forth. So various sources of supply. So it should tell you about the various ways and the various means through which the people that live in Oyemakon get their daily supplies, get the things that in their day-to-day life. So any paragraph of this passage that tell you about the various ways and the various means through which the people that live in Yemakom get the things that they need, get their supplies, this will be the answer to that particular paragraph. Okay, so this will be the answer to that particular paragraph. And so the next heading says effects of going outside. Of course, this means effects of going outside in Oyemakom. All right. And so, we've been told already from the title that Oyemakan is a very cold place, so cold that it's the world's coldest town. So when you see effects of going outside, you start thinking that, okay, this paragraph will tell me about the consequences of being in the open air in Oyemakan. When you come out of your house, all right, for example, or come out of an enclosed space, and you come into the open air, what happens to you? So this is the effects of going outside. What do you feel? What do you experience? What happens to you when you come into the open air outside the Makon? So any paragraph that tells you this will be the answer to that paragraph. Now, this may be paragraph A or paragraph F or paragraph G, but any paragraph that tells you about what happens to you when you come into the open air in Oyemako, this is the answer to that particular paragraph. Then the third heading says Oyemako past and present. All right. Now you should expect this paragraph to give you a historical overview of Oyemako. All right, and to compare the past of Oyemako with its present circumstances, to tell you about how Oyemako was before as compared to how it is now. So that's Oyemako past and present. So that means you should find in this paragraph a comparison, okay, between how Oyemako used to be like or look like and how it is presently, how it is now. So it's like before versus now. So any paragraph that compares Oyemako probably on 100 years ago, 200 years ago with how it is right now, this will be the answer to that particular paragraph. Now, the next heading says a contrast in landscape. Now, when we say landscape, we actually mean topography. Okay, and if I break that down further, it means the way the land is, the shape of the land. That's the meaning of landscape, the shape of the land. Okay, and so here they said a contrast. So when I say shape of the land, I mean the land, is it rough or is it smooth? Is it high or is it low? Things like that. Now here they said a contrast in landscape. When you say contrast, contrast means differences. So that means you should expect this paragraph to tell you about different landscapes. All right. To tell you about different landscapes, to tell you probably some of the land in the Macon is smooth and some of the land is rough, something like that. So any paragraph that tells you about contrasting landscapes, all right, this will be the answer to that particular paragraph. And then the next one, the animals that can survive the cold. I won't spend time on this because it's pretty straightforward. We've been told the Yamakon is a very cold place, okay? So that would mean that any animal that can survive there must be an animal that can survive the cold. All right, because it's a very cold place. So if you read any paragraph that tells that, okay, there are bears in Yamakon, there are lions, there are tigers, and these animals are able to cope with the weather. So this must be animals that can survive the cold. Then the next heading says how Yamakon is affected by its location. Now, what is the meaning of this heading? Now, if you look at it, you can think that, okay, it may mean that the consequences that Oyemakon's location has on Oyemakon. That is, what happens in this town, Oyemakon, just because of where Oyemakon is located on the globe. All right. So, how Oyemakon's location affects it. All right, the things that actually happen in Yomakon because of the location of Yomakon on the planet. So any paragraph of this part that tells you about the location of Yomakon and how that location affects it, this will be the answer to that particular paragraph. The Roman figure 7 says keeping out the cold. Now this will mean their attempt at keeping warm. It's a very cold place, we've been told. So we can imagine that they will make it efforts to protect themselves from the cold. So any paragraph that tells you the efforts that they make to protect themselves from the cold, probably in terms of the kind of clothing that they wear, or the kind of houses that they build, that they build just to keep warm. So this will be the answer to that particular paragraph. So any paragraph that tells you the efforts that the Oyemakon dwellers make to keep themselves warm, this will be the answer to that particular paragraph. Now the next heading says, not the only challenging time of the year. All right. So not the only challenging time of the year. Now the idea here is that it's been all about cold, cold, cold. Okay. So I think that this paragraph will tell us that cold is not the only weather challenge that Oyemakon has. That apart from cold, Oyemakon has other weather challenges. Okay, so any paragraph that tell you about the other weather challenges that Oyemakon has apart from cold, this will be the answer to that particular paragraph, because here they mean that the cold is not the only challenging time of the year. That means other seasons of the year, other times of the year are challenging apart from the cold season. Okay, now the next one says better than its reputation. So this one simply means that Oyemakon is better than its reputation. And what is the meaning of reputation? It means what people think about you and what people feel about you. So that is your reputation. So what people think about you, what people feel about you, that's your reputation, all right? And so here they said Oyemakon is better than his what? Reputation. That means Oyemakon is better than what people think about it. Oyemakon is better than what people know it to be. All right, that means simply put, Oyemakon isn't as bad as people say. Oyemakon isn't as bad as people think. Okay, so that's the idea that Oyemakon is better than its reputation. So any paragraph of this passage that tell you that Oyemakon isn't as bad as people say, or that Oyemakon isn't as bad as people think, this will be the answer to that particular paragraph. Okay, then this one says very few facilities in buildings. Okay, of course, it means that in Oyemakon, the buildings, their houses, their homes don't have a lot of facilities or amenities. All right, that their buildings, their homes don't have a lot of facilities, they don't have a lot of amenities. Okay, probably they don't have the modern amenities that we enjoy, things like air conditioner, heaters, refrigerator, or television, furniture, and all these wonderful things that we enjoy in our modern day homes. Probably they are lacking in the houses or homes in Oyemako. Okay, so the last one says most know than anywhere else in the world. Of course, this is pretty straightforward. I wouldn't spend time on that. So the thing is, Oyemako has most know than anywhere else in the world. Okay, that's just what this means. That there are most know in Oyemako than what you have in any part of the world. So this is what you do. You take your time to analyze each of the headings. All right, you take your time to analyze each of the headings ever before you start reading the passage. So once that has been done, you go to the next step. Now, the next step is for you to read the first paragraph, or as they say, skim through the first paragraph. All right, so you skim through the first paragraph. You skim through the first paragraph and return to the headings. Return to the headings to find a match. Return to the headings to find a match. Okay, so you skim through the first paragraph and return to the headings to find a match. So what I'm saying is, after analyzing each of the headings this way, you go to the first paragraph. Okay, so you read the first paragraph, but remember, I said something that I said you skim through the heading. That means don't don't read the heading with the aim of having an in-depth understanding of it. All right, because what you are looking for is the main idea. All right, the main idea of this paragraph. So that's what you're actually looking for. So you are not trying to understand the details of this paragraph as it were. You are after the main idea. And so because the main idea that you are after, skimming will just do. Okay, so you can just skim through, and then or you get an idea of what the main idea is. So after skimming through this paragraph, you come back to the list of headings and you want to find a match. All right, but in your attempt to pick a match, one of three things will happen. All right, now the first thing that can happen is after you have skimmed through this paragraph, you can go to the list of headings and you can immediately see that okay, the headings that match is, let's say for example, a contrast in the landscape. So you just write that Roman figure 4 and move on to the next paragraph. But sometimes it may not happen that way. So there are times that two headings may seem appropriate, two headings may seem right. So it's possible that you skim through this whole paragraph, then after skimming through, you come to the list of headings and you can see that Roman figure 2, all right, or is appealing. That means you saw something in the paragraph that gave you the indication that it should be dealing with effects of going outside. And then the heading 7, keeping out the code, can also seem appealing to you because you saw something there that seems to tell you that the paragraph is dealing with keeping out the code. So you may be confused now, thinking that which heading exactly am I going to choose? So should I go for effects of going outside? Should I go for keeping out the code? So you may want to make the mistake of reading the paragraph in order for you to be sure which one exactly to pick. Well, it's a mistake, as I said, so don't do that. Now the reason you shouldn't do that is that it's a waste of your time. All right, because if you want to read this heading again, so you can find out whether you should choose heading 2 or heading 7. That'll be wasting your time unnecessarily. So when this happens, what I advise that you do is that you should put the two headings for now. That means you can write Roman figure 2 against number 28, and also write Roman figure 7 against number 28, and continue to paragraph B, and to paragraph C, and to paragraph D. So there are chances that when you get to paragraph D, all right, so there are chances that when you get to paragraph D, it will now be pretty obvious to you that the effect of going outside Roman figure 2 that you either give to paragraph A is more appropriate for paragraph D. So what you then do in that case is that you erase it from here and give it to paragraph D. So that's that. And then there may be even times that you read a paragraph and you can't immediately find an appropriate answer. So what you do in that case, just skip it, all right, and come back to it later. But remember, what you are after is the main idea of the paragraph. Don't forget that. I appended a scenario a while ago, for example, where Roman figure 2 and Roman figure 7 can seem to be potential answers to paragraph A. Now, the reason that will happen is that there are times that a heading will capture the major idea of a paragraph, and then you will have another heading that only captures a minor idea in a paragraph. Now, let us assume for a moment that the actual answer to paragraph A is keeping out the code, all right? And then you may see something, or you may see something in that paragraph A that may seem to tell you about the effect of going outside. But then it can only be it will just be a minor idea. That's not the major thing that paragraph A is dealing with. It's just a minor idea in the paragraph. So that means even though the idea of effects of going outside is present in paragraph A, it only expresses a minor idea in the paragraph, not the main idea. So you are not choosing it. So ensure that any heading that you are choosing actually captures the major idea of the paragraph. So that's what you always have to ensure. So that is the strategies for dealing with paragraph headings match questions. And so we'll go into the practical sessions now.